Can you hear me?
I'm gonna ping Julian because I want him for this.
Okay. And can I record this so I can listen to it later? Because this is something that I've just thought for sure was the case, and I knew a lot about. So not a lot about. I thought it was just like an analytic thing.
Oh, okay. My microphone broke.
Yeah, that happened to Megz as well, but I can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Wait, isn't Julian that anime debater?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So, I should drag Julian in here and then say something about how he was supposed to, teach me higher order logics and didn't. So now we're gonna make him talk about this. But so JMac kind of already said, okay, wait. Let me rewind a little bit. Because you said something about what sounded very much like each moment was a possible world.
Yeah, I mean, is it not?
So that just made me think of a many world interpretation of like a quantum branching off. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, I'm not thinking of anything branching off. I'm just saying, like, let's say I'm running name the trait, and I go like, there's a world where there's a human, and there's a world where that human is trait equalized to a cow, and they go like, in what world could we make humans trait equal to cows? And I would say something like, if you're asking me in what possible world that could happen, one of the possible worlds that could happen in is this world, much later in the future. Like,
Okay.
is that a wrong
So,
way to use that?
I don't really know. I don't really know exactly what you're saying there.
Really?
I don't need it.
What? So
Um,
like, look. So a possible is just like the modal scope, right? And then like a world is just like a state of affairs. So
mhm.
for like a possible world. I mean, is us still having this conversation in 5 minutes a possibility?
Okay, so I think like this is the way I understand it, and like I really want Julian in here, but it seems like for the world itself, the world would be a full like set of like the possible choices. But I still think it would be wrong to say something um like a necessary being could exist for like 5 minutes, and that's why J-Mike kind of worded it in some sort of sense of like there's still like an ontological necessity, but like that there could be like an accidental
Yeah.
kind of thing, which I can't explain great.
Yeah, I don't really
Um,
understand either, but yeah.
Julian, um, Julian would be. I feel like Julian would be able to explain this better than anybody.
I mean, if you want to postpone this combo,
Julian,
I'm down to do that. But
yeah, Julian favors kind of like the logic sides of philosophy. So I do feel like Julian, out of anybody, would probably explain this the best.
yeah,
Besides maybe.
I assume that let's grant that God is necessary, and let's say that necessary, all that requires is that you exist for at least one femtosecond in every possible world. Like, and let's say that it's true that God only exists for one femtosecond in every possible world, just long enough to, squeeze a universe together, and then he zaps out of existence or whatever. Are we saying that that being is necessary? Like,
You're saying that it exists for every second?
no, it exists for one like picosecond in every
Oh,
possible world.
but it couldn't have not existed. Um,
I mean, like,
yeah. This is why, like, I really want Julian because I do feel like there's maybe something that, like, I don't know why it would have to be existent nonstop. Because, like, maybe the necessitarian view would want to say that, I don't know, there was like a necessary state that led to everything else being necessary, kind of thing. Um, but each thing within that wouldn't have to be like, okay, say like you're necessary. to have existed, but you don't have to have existed the whole time. So I don't like, maybe
Oh,
there's
right.
something I'm missing
Are you
here.
saying that thinking about it from a necessitarian mind helps you better understand the
Yeah.
distinction? Because let's just
But
grant.
I think what we're talking about is like on a modal like I don't like this is I don't know, Julian.
It's hard to explain for sure. I feel
So
like uh, I
go
feel
ahead.
like it's like uh it depends on when you say God is necessary what you mean. I feel like because
Yeah,
it you could
necessary, just you know, isn't dependent on anything else for its existence, and couldn't fail to be. Like it couldn't have been otherwise.
it okay, so it couldn't fail to have existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it could be true.
I guess like analytically that doesn't fall within the domain of time, but
Yeah,
necessary just means exist in all possible worlds. And under
yeah.
that construal of the phrasing, how are moments in the future not possible worlds? Because
Okay,
Check side
well,
chat.
okay.
I
Do you
can't.
think like do you
I'm
think like
driving.
Oh,
do you think like an event can be necessary where like in every possible world that event happens?
Okay, that helps me. Yeah, I
But
guess
it
I
doesn't,
think that.
yeah, but it doesn't mean that that event has to be like a certain length of time or has to like be constantly happening or something like that, right?
Yeah, okay. Can Are events the types of things that can be necessary? So like some initial state of events, like a grandma view, or kind of like
Yeah.
there's some like you
Like
know
yeah, like I maybe it's a necessary in every possible world that um a like a cake pops into existence or something, you
yeah,
know? But it doesn't
that
mean that it has anything to do with like how the event is or anything like that.
okay, that actually I think I am just confused then. No, I'm not confused anymore. I think that clears up what
I
I was
think
confusing. Go ahead.
yeah. That's a good point because like so maybe there's like an issue and a difference in like a being like I don't like maybe that's like part of the issue of like if like maybe with God it kind of comes into like part of the definition of God that it might be like an eternal being and that could be some of the like
Yeah.
issue there. And that's even as I was typing it out in the Phil Goobers, I was like, what the fuck am I saying? Um, and I was I just want to backtrack on all of this. Like, I don't know what the hell I just said. Um,
That's all good.
Yeah, but
um,
that doesn't change that. Um, so I think that I was equivocating then, because when I I don't remember who told me this, but I I've been told before explicitly, verbatim, that future states of affairs, like, either are possible worlds or are referenced when you use possible world semantics.
say that one more time.
Yeah, I've been told explicitly before that future states of affairs are either possible worlds or referenced when we use possible world semantics. Like they fall into the scope of that.
I don't like that's the part that I think is really confusing because like I would say like this is the way I would think like future moments are like contingent within a world that's like within our world. Like say like even if we want to say like maybe our world is I don't know how you can say the world's necessary, but have contingent things. But like the way in which I would think of like future moments would be like they would be contingent, or they would be like possible worlds. Because like um well
Yeah, but
because when the way I think of like possible worlds and I think how it's being used, and I could just be wrong, but that it's more like the like the set of the world itself of like what was like possible, and it could be like um that we have like a very nearby kind of world where it's you do have like another you or something, like a lot of the things
Yeah.
were matched up, but it was, it was contingent
Yeah.
on you made this choice or that choice. So there is you making this other choice or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be like a possible world in that kind of sense, but it's not like the future moments that are contingent in this world
Are themselves possible worlds.
right. Like it's
Hey,
like it's possible
I
there
think what
is
I
a
was doing,
world.
I think my brain
Mhm.
was just baking in that I wasn't doing the quantum multiverse Marvel branch off thing, but I think I was just doing it so second nature that I didn't realize I was doing it, because I would say that in the future, let's say I choose A rather than B. What it means to say there's a possible world where I chose B rather than A isn't to say that it happened in this world. It's just to say that it's possible that
Yeah,
it happened.
Julian's here. Oh my god, thank you.
Okay.
Hey
Yeah,
man,
time for this anime debater to just confuse everybody.
hey, I just
Um,
got back from church.
what did Glock do to you? Were you threatened?
No, I go to church every day.
Yeah,
Every single day.
Sorry,
yeah.
this is kind of
Like
getting nerdy.
what? Are we using church in like an idiosyncratic way?
No, I'm a very holy person. I love the Lord.
Okay, whatever. Um,
Huh? Oh, like
um.
what?
Anyways,
Oh,
so
the baskets, right?
okay, we need things cleared up. So
Wait,
somebody
I'm gonna need
explain.
like 2 minutes.
No. Okay, I'll try to catch Julian up. So somebody explained to a set of like the possible world. So like there could be a possible world where there is like another like very similar to ours, or there's like maybe even another you that made different choices or something like that. But it wouldn't be like the possible moments in our world is a possible world.
Wait, so when they say there could be someone very similar to you, are they talking about another world?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So
Is it
basically,
like
my understanding was that like future states of affairs are either possible worlds or referenced when using possible world semantics. So that way, like, when you say there's some possible world where you murder your family, and somebody goes like, or like, that would never happen. You could just say like, look, like it could happen in the future. You don't know that. You don't get like some tumor that makes you go on a murderous rampage or something, right?
oh yeah, you can use like possible worlds for temporal quantification. So like
Wouldn't it be
quantification
like
to future.
just contingent things within our world, but there could be a possible world where like something else happened?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, typically you would use different semantics for like quantifying temporally in this possible world and, you know, quantifying over other possible worlds that are not this possible world.
Okay.
So, you know,
And then there's like another thing that was brought up about like if there's like any kind of temporal restraint on like a necessary thing.
Yeah. So that
I
Like
don't
that
know what
one.
that means. Like, there are they? Well,
Let's say
what?
that let's say that God. So first of all, are you saying that future states of affairs are possible worlds? Because that's what I thought.
future affairs. I mean, they can be.
Okay.
Wait, can you explain that a little bit further? Because maybe there's a, like a different understanding.
Oh, me or this guy?
Yeah,
Oh, well,
usually.
okay. So like you can view possible world semantics at certain moments. So uh, you have the present, this moment, and then you have past moments and future moments, and you allow temporal quantification.
Like an
These are like
Aristotelian
global
branching modality.
quantifiers as well. So you can think of your usual box as replace that with the future operator, and your usual diamond replace it with the past operator, or whatever. Uh, and then you can quantify into the past and into the future. So at this time, this is one possible world, at a future moment, it's another possible world, and you can quantify what happens in the future. So you'll say this never will happen. You say it won't happen at any future moment, or something.
Yeah, so like if you're like running name the trait and you say like let's say that like humans just evolve into being cows, like they're just trait equalized. And they say like that would never happen in any possible world and you or like they just say that you're not talking about the real world, you're talking about, some possible world, not the real world. And you would say that a possible world is this world, but just much later, where evolution got away from us and we turned into cows or something. Like that's not an incorrect usage of possible world there.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. You could do that.
Yeah. Okay. So when somebody does that kind of change? Is there like more nuance when we're talking about the God thing? Because this whole thing started because one of our great philosophers who has a degree in logic, Hatim, was talking to this person about the modal ontological argument, and at some point they got into this kerfuffle where they said, um, God is necessary, and then Hatim said something like, "Yeah, but something could be necessary, but only like exist for 5 minutes." And I was thinking, under the construal of the concept we just talked about, and you disagreed was a correct usage, to say that something exists for 5 minutes in every possible world and only for 5 minutes is just to say that any future past that 5 minutes is a possible world where that thing did not exist. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever you want to say about temporal modal logic, your temporal worlds are going to be subsets of metaphysically possible worlds. So God has to exist in all temporal worlds because he's necessary,
Right.
and the
So if there,
temporal worlds are metaphysical worlds.
So
right. So if there's
like,
if there's a oh sorry, go ahead.
okay, so like what if somebody wanted to do something like say, well, like J Mike brought up like Oppie's kind of view of the like initial like necessary state, but then that like ceases to exist. Would I mean like how do you get around something like saying that's necessary?
It ceases it's necessary and it ceases to exist and it's not necessary.
Right.
Okay.
Uh,
So you would
yeah.
say that if God, existed for all of time except for 5 minutes, whatever being that is not a necessary being, right?
Yeah, but I think maybe there's another notion that you might point to is that, well, say like you're a presentist or something, and
Yeah.
yeah, because I think these things they
Or like a
generally
necessitarian or something.
necessary things don't exist within time. Generally, the things people want say are necessary are kind of timeless or spaceless. But if they are in time, I do think the initial condition is going to have to always exist.
So events aren't the kind of things that you would say under this notion can be necessary. Like,
I think it can be.
okay, well that seems to contradict what we've been saying to me.
Like
Oh, let me get Dwight in here. He wanted to know about this too. Hold on.
I think events can be necessary because like suppose like the initial state stuff, suppose you had the initial state existing in every possible world and that's some form of event. And then suppose even if it exists in time, suppose you're an eternalist, so it always exists, doesn't go out of existence. Then you can say it's necessary.
Yeah, but let's say let's say that in every possible world, a cake appears floating around Saturn for 10 minutes. Is that event necessary because it happened in every possible world? Because it just seems like to say it happened in every possible world is false.
Uh yeah, okay. I mean, there's like a problem, like a semantic problem here, where
Yes.
you might be using two different senses of necessary.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
J Mike said something else as well. He said like So like, I forgot who asked, but somebody asked if like a being could exist and be a necessary being and then like commit suicide. And J Mike said something along the lines of like, yes, it could be like necessary, and then what it does is like not necessary. So like if it like it's accident like its desires, or like if it's an accident or something like that. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I agree. So the suicide's not necessary, but his existence is necessary. Is what you're saying?
Well, his
Mm.
existence wouldn't be like, okay, well, depends on, I guess, certain facts about time or whatever, but like there's a moment where he doesn't exist anymore. He goes out of existence
Yes,
or something
Right.
exactly.
when he
And
dies.
like that
Yeah, that was
confuses
my
me
problem.
because if we zoom in on one of those snapshots of time after the deicide or the suicide or whatever, like that moment in time to me is a possible world where that being doesn't exist. Like, but
Yeah,
And then
I
I
think you
think
should just
the example is rough too, because like suicide is like it's not really like an accident or anything like that either. Like, um,
I think you should just like disambiguate between like necessity in the sense that this being will always appear in every possible world, and then necessity in the sense that, well, this being is required to exist, depends on nothing for its existence, and always exists at every time.
I agree that those two concepts should be disambiguated, but I think that the first
I'm
one is
here.
probably what people are talking about most of the time. Like, um, I think there's something to what J Mike said about like what the necessitarian is going to say. I don't know what you think about that, Julian. Like they're going to say everything's necessary, but they're not saying everything exists at every point in time. You know?
yeah, that kind of cleared that helped clear it up for me too. Or like that if something happened in every possible world for only 5 minutes, would I say that event is necessary? I think I would say that event is necessary, but that just seems to point out that there's something about possible
Yeah.
world semantics that I'm getting wrong.
There's two concepts at play here, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem is like, uh, yeah, I agree in some sense. You're right about the necessary and stuff, but there's other cases in which obviously they're meaning the other sense of the word, like Descartes saying our senses aren't like necessarily uh, conducive to truth or whatever. Sometimes we're deceived by our senses or whatever. He's saying that okay, at some point we're deceived when we look at things. So this seems to be necessary in the sense that the
At,
other sense it's not
yeah, at
necessary.
time X, it's like can deceive us, and at time Y, it can be reliable.
And then some people will say things like, "Oh, your mother's not necessary because she'll die at some point," or "Your existence is not necessary because you'll die at some point." In those cases, it's they're talking about necessity in other sense.
Hmm.
So are these senses of necessity in like different domains of philosophy or something? Like the sense that one could not fail to exist, and the sense that one exists in all possible worlds or something?
Yeah, like which definition is contrasted? I mean, obviously, like the one that couldn't fail to exist is contrasted with contingent. So like,
I think in the scope of these debates, Amdir is kind of right that the the main one people are using is probably uh,
Necessity.
the one that necessitarianism that you know it could exist at different times or go out of existence at different times. Uh,
yet they would still be necessary, right?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like a possible world is like a complete description of the state of affairs from start to finish, or something along those lines. And if it
Yeah. Okay.
features in each one of those, it's necessary.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was using it.
Okay.
you see, like the problem is originally you asked me this question. I'm like, yeah, I think even if something goes out of existence, it could be necessary. But then I thought about it again. I'm like, well, there's other things people say. So I really do think you have to disambiguate
Mm.
the things.
So, I mean, does
That
anything
makes
that
sense.
about the disambiguation change when we're talking about specifically the modal ontological argument? Like, is God, since God's supposed to be like not unaffected by time, right? Is like if God were to not exist for a single minute, Well, I mean, first of all, I don't know if we're granting that God is outside of time. I don't know what that means. But
Well, but, well, Julian, you read about the ontological argument probably as much as I did, but I think that they're using the sense the necessitarians are, and the reason why I think that is because when they responded to I can't remember who it was responded to Leibniz, the whole the fact that necessitarianism was true is meant to be like a critique of the argument.
Is that Spinoza's critique you're talking?
Maybe.
Oh, I think
so a necessitarian would say that God could exist for only like 1 minute out of all time, just enough to create a universe, and then go out
Well,
of existence, yet still be necessary.
Necessitarian would say we all exist necessarily.
Yeah, but the kind of necessary where God only existed for 1 minute, right? But we all exist for the amount of time we do, right? Everything's necessary. I get that, but God could only exist for 1 minute and squeeze out a universe and like.
Maybe, but I think Megz might know this actually, but I think part of the way they tried to disambiguate this is by talking about necessary existence versus a necessary being. Or like a necessary being is supposed to be something that exists at all point in time or whatever.
right, yeah, that's a good distinction to make.
Yeah, I do think that's how they want to use it. It's like an eternal being, and it has to be.
Yeah, but also, isn't this kind of like going away from the modal ontological argument? Because I feel you're only worried about, like, ignore all the facts about time. You're worried about whether you can deduce from the possibility of God to the conclusion God exists. And this involves modal quantification in the sense you're dealing with other possible worlds, not temporal facts.
Right. The kind of the like the first version where we talked about where it's like just a set of things that are true of a world.
Yeah, yeah. So like, you can just run the ontological argument, just fix any time, and does God exist at any time in any world? And then you could run the same argument, and it could go through. So I don't know if temporal facts has anything to do with the modal ontological argument in that way.
Well, you might actually. I wonder if you might need it to be a necessary being for it to work, because if God exists only at some points in time, how are you getting from God necessarily exists to God exists if God exists isn't indexical? I mean, maybe it isn't, but
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get there. You will. You will get that God exists at some point in time, but
And that's
you
good
won't
enough,
get.
really.
You won't get that God exists.
I don't think a Christian
hey,
would want
Julian, I have an idea for a new
bring that up.
reply we can write to the
So
ontological argument.
no, we need to
You're gonna
publish
go
this.
live
This is
stream?
another bad idea. So it looks like that's what philosophers of religion are like looking for. Does anyone else have any bad arguments that Amdir and I can publish?
I think a team has some. He said he wrote a paper recently.
Well, he has a degree. He talks to Chat GPT for 8 hours a day. Okay.
Julian, he recently said he has a degree in logic, like philosophical logic.
Verbatim.
Well, I do as well. I got mine through
I
Discord.
think it'd be really interesting if you guys talked about this.
Well, I want to talk to him about my new argument for what counts as a possible world.
Okay.
Amdir and I are formalizing it using topological manifold.
Oh God.
Oh Lord,
I don't even know what that means.
I'm never gonna understand it.
I actually read a paper earlier today where they were. I sent the screenshot to Julian where they were. I'm trying to remember how they were doing. I think they were trying to solve the problem of evil using manifolds or something.
Okay, what is use a topological manifold?
Is that just the shape of the?
It was like
Universe.
plenitudinal four-dimensional hyperspace or something.
What the hell? I don't mean.
Have you asked Stephen about it? I don't know if he would help you, but I mean, I don't know if he would be of help, but I bet he would. He could. He knows all about
could really say
topology.
the things. I don't know if he would help you.
Oh.
I
Gotcha.
mean, it's not. It wasn't a paper that I was taking very seriously.
I feel like that's like when mathematicians comment on philosophy of math, and then sometimes they just say these ridiculous things inside this like insanely math jargon. That's how I feel that paper was.
Amdir, do you use Gemini for like fill papers as well? Do you trust it?
It depends. What do you mean by that? Like,
Oh,
I
like
don't.
if you just like took a PDF, like sent Gemini a PDF, and then was just like go over this with me or something.
Oh, I don't really trust it that much to convey the like philosophical point accurately, but I do use it for finding sources or finding papers.
Okay.
You know what's really good though? The Google AI. That one happens to be really good.